Celebrity interviews live from the grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on? I know you're excited about our guest today.
I am so excited, and I'll open up the Komodo and tell you a little quick secret. March 1973, when the $6 Million Man had its debut little TV movie thing, I watched it with my dad. It was just so amazing. My dad got really sick that October of 73. He ended up passing in April of 74, which the Bionic Woman was on $6 Million Man series. And it was just so great. So that show and Rangers and Lindsay have really been with me a long time.
Absolutely. So we welcome Lindsay Wagner to the program. 50th anniversary of the Bionic Woman.
And it's just an honor and a privilege to have a chance to speak with you. So I'll just jump into my first question, if that's okay. When you first stepped into the role of Jamie Summers, Lindsay, on the $6 Million Man with Lee Majors, did you have any idea it would change television history?
Not a clue. Not a clue. It was a one-off. It was an invitation to come be on his show for an episode, fall in love, become Bionic, and basically, or go skydiving with him, and then Bionic, and then basically die. That was all it was supposed to be. But that was not a cool thing for the audience and children, and the messages came in from all over the country, probably some other places from the world was airing too, but I know the US in general, including children's hospitals and all that kind of thing, were writing in and saying, what are you doing? You created this cool quintessential mother figure to go with the quintessential father figure. Well, and then you killed her right in front of all the kids. The kids were freaking out. And the next episode, they made up a new episode to bring me back. And she didn't say that she had been cryogenic, that she'd been frozen. Yeah. To see if they could keep her alive, just enough alive to maybe figure out how to fix her, which they ultimately did. And in the next episode, which we made very specifically on demand by the public. And so at the end of that episode, they had her going to be a teacher at the Army base. She's still Bionic, but she has amnesia, so she doesn't have to stay on these shows because they would obviously have to get married if, like they were planning, if she remembered him. But so she doesn't remember him, but she can do whatever else she needs to do. And taking care of the children as a teacher was a wonderful move, very clever that they started that, so that the kids could see she's all right. And not only that, she loves kids and she's going to help kids. So that was it. And so that's cool. Okay. And the public just went berserk. More. And so literally the letters came flooding in, really good ones this time, saying, we want more. And the businessmen went, oh yeah, let's do that. Because back then, there was no social media to say what you like and not what you like and to put pressure on this or that. You had to care enough to sit down, write a letter, take it to the post office, or do whatever you did, buy a stamp, all of that just to say what they said. But millions of people did that. And that literally was why The Bionic Woman was born as a series. It was by public demand, and it was just very moving.
Excellent.
Yeah. And think about it, Lindsay. How did you prepare for the role? After you got the role, what was your preparation like?
It wasn't. It was it was a girl, young American girl that had strength and fortitude of her own. She was a tennis pro. She had a lot of qualities that I didn't have to stretch for, except I'm a terrible tennis player. I'll tell you that. But yeah. So for me, it was just playing the role and giving what I read and what I perceived in the script as much heart and whatever as I could. But when it came to this series, and they wanted me to do the series, I wanted to have this show not be about a superhero man, basically, in a skirt. Because time was so short, they wanted to turn it around so fast that they took episodes that were written for Lee's show and started out my show with altered versions of those shows, because they didn't quite know what they were even making in a way, other than it was Bionic and she was going to go do jobs for the OSI. But I said, we've got to alter these in a way that expresses that you have a woman here, a young woman, sensitive person. She's the girl next door, basically. And now she's got all this. Every step along the way, I work with Kenny. I told the people, first of all, I need it in my contract that I can have some collaboration. And it turned out really nice because Kenny Johnson, who I'm sure you know who that is, the writer, producer, director, creator of Bionic Woman, and we would get together, and he was very open and enjoyed. We both really enjoyed the relationship, thank goodness, because we'd sit with each script prior to filming it, obviously, and he would play all the characters, and I would play me, Jamie, and we would work on it that way. So as we did it, we would go scene by scene, and we'd talk about it. And I'd say, no, that's just such a masculine response. Let's try. So we would work on it together. And that was just a wonderful experience. So we were creating Jamie as we went along by my instincts and whatever I would see to do, and he would then come up with ideas in response to that. So that's how it happened. It wasn't something that was finished or most majorly thought about in advance. And so I had to figure out how to find myself in that. It was just opposite.
Wow. I know what it was for me, but what do you think made the Bionic Woman resonate so powerfully with audiences around the world?
That very process and what we produced out of that, because our goal was to create a character in a show that shows someone interacting, someone who would living that kind of a life, with the realization that sensitivity and strength, power, can live in the same person. You're not just a powerful guy or a sensitive woman. It's because, to me, those are human qualities. They aren't just female qualities, or they aren't just male qualities. Certainly there are some things biological we all know about, because we've talked about it a million times in the years of first it was the women's movement, now it's just let's look at reality, let's look at humans and what we have so much more that we don't realize we have. And so it's the essence of it was to show that some of the same qualities can exist in both male and female. And so you act that out, show by show, character by character that we encounter, challenge to Jamie that we encounter, just even what tendencies might be to her to want to work it out too much or be too careful because that female maternal thing comes out or whatever. Subtle things that we would put in so that show by show, you were expressing that, and she'd have to learn about that and that better. But on the other hand, it was the other way around too. It was her having to. Well, I think that kind of sums it up. I won't go on too much.
No, it definitely sums it up. And thinking about science fiction reaching science fact, 50th year of the Bionic Woman. Do you think at some point in time we're going to have some robot parts in our bodies, and we're going to see a bionic man and a bionic woman?
I suppose that how far you take that could mean a multitude of things the way you described it. I think it's already happening. First of all, people have ears stuck in their head, right? We can hear based on what's resonating. So I don't know that it increases their, I don't think it increases their ability to hear through walls and stuff yet, but as a young mother, I had that already. It's the loud because I didn't show them the series until they got to a certain age, because I really felt like it wasn't good for them to see their mother, even though they know it's a show, they understand shows, but to still, they can sit there and watch their mother be in jeopardy like that. And so I waited till they were older and showed to them. And they said, "Oh, that bionic ear." They started laughing. I said, So that's how she hears us all the time. They used to accuse me, how do you hear that? Well, we're talking about that. That used to happen in our house. So then it became the family joke. So yeah, of course it's happening. It's scary when you think about people just running loose with it. On the other hand, because I think for all the ails, for all the not so goods that are in we humans, there's a lot of good that I fear we lose. The more mechanical life becomes, the more mechanical humans become. I just feel we're going to lose. If you have the ability to just pop, I don't like this argument, boink, I win, goodbye. Every time, every person, where does it come? Where is the struggle to work something out, to learn from each other in a confrontation or that kind of stuff? That kind of goes away. It's just like people living on their phone or kids growing up constantly in their own screens, and they're not learning to communicate with each other very well. It's more familiar to see your friend as a little moving thing on your phone than it is to be in their presence, which includes the energy of your friend. And so you don't learn about that. So those are my concerns about if it goes too far. Makes sense?
Very interesting. I know that this show inspired me, that I wanted to investigate who developed bionics and what would you do. And I figured out from asking my mother's doctor friends that it was a biomedical engineer. So my dad was an electrical engineer. I'm like, I'm going to go to medical school. I'm going to become a biomedical engineer and build a $6 million man. That was my goal, right? Obviously that didn't happen. I became a cyber technology expert instead, but it was still along the same lines of tech. But let me ask you, Jamie, Lindsay, you became the first lead actress to win an Emmy for an action hero, a female action hero. What did that moment mean to you personally?
The award was not for being an action hero, which I just want to clarify, because what it meant to me was a lot more than it would have if it was for an action hero. And there wasn't any awards for action heroes or anything like that. There weren't that many anywhere. And it meant a lot to me because the Emmy was actually for the best actress in a dramatic series, the dramatic series category. And that meant that with all the other people that that were being nominated, they were incredible. It was drama shows and beautifully acted out shows, and they had my acting in category with that, which was, I was so surprised by it because I just assumed that the action, that the new goodies would override their ability to see my acting and consider what the acting part that I was doing, it wasn't jumping off a building, was as good as something else, because there was a lot of drama in Jamie's life. And so I was just blown away. I was truly surprised, truly shocked, and just really happy. Really made that happen.
Absolutely. It's a credit to the whole team, isn't it? Winning that award.
Yeah, because Kenny wrote things. He was just so good at integrating drama and funny and fun. We've had on TV series, they always have some kind of a formula, like the Bible, that describes how your show is constructed, not just who's in it. And so the Bionic shows had a mandate of either 3 or 4 bionics that had to be done in between each commercial. So before you get to the next commercial, you have to do three bionic things. And with that kind of a mandate, that's usually in everybody's mind. What would you use it for? You'd punch somebody out, or you stop the dam or something, but high drama, not drama, but what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. And because I didn't want to do so much action stuff, which is usually means violence, and that was in there, but not, I just didn't want to do it all the time. And so that's where the humor came in. That's why the tone of our show was very different. Was because we had to use the Bionic, so she'd clean her kitchen really fast when she'd tear the phone book, do all these kinds of things, which gave a chance to use the Bionics per mandate, and still have fun and let her be a woman and times use it in life, which I think was good for the women, because not that they don't relate to being strong and winning a fight or something. Being mothers, we have the mother bear in us also. Don't be messing with my kids or whatever. So that kind of a thing. Let Mom clean the kitchen. We got our Bionic done, and it's funny and cute, and boy, wouldn't I like to do that. So that was another thing that I think endeared the show to the audience at large, is that the Bionics were very versatile with how we used them, and funny on times.
Really funny. Lindsay, is there a story behind you accepting the role as Bionic Woman that you'd want to share?
A story?
Like a story to tell about.
Yeah, a story to tell about how that came about, how you accepted the role. You know, I don't want to just come out and say what I discovered on the internet, because maybe it's not true. So that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. No, yes, absolutely. When I started acting, it was 1971, and I was really on a path. I wanted to do dramatic shows, and I'd done a couple of features already. Robert Wise film, Two People, and I did The Paper Chase. And now this was coming in. I was still under contract to Universal at the time the first two episodes came out. But when it came around, I received the script. Universal was making this, and they wanted me to look at it. So I read it, and that same day I was talking to my mom, and she and my younger sister lived up in Oregon. She was like 13, 14 years younger than me. And so I'm talking to mom, and I said, I just got the craziest script. These people jumping off of buildings and all this stuff. It wasn't normal. We didn't have superheroes. We didn't have people throwing, people spitting fire. We didn't have none of that. No. So here's these people jumping off buildings. And I said, she says, you know, $6 million man? And I said, yeah. I said, she said, that's your sister's favorite show. What do they want you to do? And I said, they want me to be a Bionic Woman. And she said, Bionic Woman? Are you kidding? And I said, yeah, I'm not on that track. I'm not really don't know that much about sci-fi. And she said, you're doing that show. She said, you have to do that show. That's your sister's favorite show. Are you going to be the Bionic? My little sister was like, oh, really? Oh, boy. Okay. I'll reread it. I'll give it another go. So I did. I looked at it, and I thought I could. First of all, I thought I did not know it was going to be anything other than this one episode. So at that moment, I said, okay, I'll do it. So I did it for my sister. Ironically, there was a date in the cover letter, even that. It was her birthday. I didn't think it was her, but so that happened. And then she died, and then they brought her back to something we're talking about. And when the big flood, after they brought her back to life, and she was teaching all that, the big flood of requests for the show to continue, for the character to continue, then the businessman at ABC, of course, went, we got to do this as a series. And so that's how the series came about. And the way that the fact that they would let me be collaborative in creating the character, because it was important to me how that was done. That's how it happened. I went ahead and did that. But the interesting thing about that birthday thing, and my sister being such a energetically a part of this whole manifestation somehow, because we scrambled to put this series together. And by the following January, we had our first episode to air. And it was January 14th, sister's birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about that. It just happened. So that's why here on this 50th anniversary, just, it's fun to reflect that it was part of it. And so on her birthday, we did a little video at her birthday party, just a quick little, here's my sister. She's responsible for that.
So how special does that decision feel now, 50 years later, right?
Yeah. Amazing.
Now, Greg has a final question for you, Lindsay. He asks every celebrity. Go ahead, Greg, with that question.
It's true. It's an important one for me because I love to learn from people, especially my heroes from when I was younger, such as yourself. So tell me, Lindsay, what do you feel is the most important thing in life to date that you've ever learned?
That our perception of any life circumstance is what gives us our experience of that circumstance, gives us our experience of ourself. It's our perception, even what we think. Somebody calls me, and if I hurt because of that, it's my perception of what's happening in that moment that causes my pain, my suffering. All our suffering is a function of our perception, bottom line, if you want to say it.
Excellent.
As opposed to thinking that that's true, or why would he think that of me? It's his problem why he would think that of me, or he's got his own perception going. And that's why Jamie was important for me, to have Jamie be somebody who would look deeper into things, who would look for what's going on, not just the behavior on the outside, and see if she could work it out. A lot of times she would do that. She would go. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, Lindsay, where's the best place people can follow you and catch up with you? Where's the best place?
For the anniversary, I opened just a little store, a little website store. And we have, it's called Bionic50.com. And on there, I've released, there's 4 photos that have not been out before for people to see or buy. So they're just special ones that I like that came out through the years. And also on that website, there's the script of the very last episode of The Bionic Woman. So we have copies of that, which I like, called On the Run. And then there's also video chats. I wanted to have video chats for a while. The store's only open until February 28th, but and the video chats, you can come in and buy one of those, and we can talk. I like hearing what other people's experiences of it. I really enjoyed that these days. Or LindsayWagner.com, or LindsayWagner.com is my whole website and gives you a good look at the breadth of my career.
All right. Thank you again, Lindsay. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.
That was the special simulcast, The Neil Haley Show, and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Guys, take care.